Welcome to the Level 1 Lounge, where we give our uneducated talks about anything and everything gaming. So, tonight I will be hosting this evening's episode. This is actually our 10th episode, so we're celebrating a very special milestone
Yay.
for the group here. So, we're super excited to be able to continue bringing this for you. So, tonight it's just going to be the three of us. The other casters unfortunately had other commitments to attend to. So tonight we've got Agent Maverick, as well as Irish Bandit Rob, and myself, Fred Pride 639. So why don't we go ahead and pick up our controllers and let's start powering up. So with the Final Fantasy VII Rebirth hype at an all-time high, as of this recording that actually releases tonight. It's already starting to release worldwide in various places, but with all the hype that's been surrounding this game, I just wanted to ask you guys a quick question. What games were you most hyped up for in the past? So let's go with
So,
let's start with Maverick here.
sure. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you there.
No worries.
I've actually been trying to think of this one all day. So for me, the one series that I have followed the most, other than Final Fantasy, has been the God of War series. And God of War 1, I never really touched until God of War 2 came out, and God of War 3 came out. Never like I was never really up to date with those games. Then God of War 2018 hit. Super happy with it, super excited. It didn't hit me on how big that game was actually going to be. Then when I wrapped it up, I platinumed that game, I put in all that effort. So the one that actually stands out the most for me is actually God of War Ragnarok. So of course that was one that I believe it came out in 2022 now.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, so it's been
I think
two
so, yeah.
years. Um, but I remember being super excited for it. It was the first game that I was like, okay, you know what? I have time in my bank at work. I have no idea where I want to use my vacation time for. I'm booking off 3 or 4 days just to play this game straight. And was I happy that I did it? And so that was the one that really stands out. This is Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is a very, very close second. It's another situation where I'm very excited for it. Got some time that I have available for work. I have no idea where to use it, so I'm using it for the next few days. So I've got 4 days of playing it and straight like at least streaming it tomorrow. But yeah, God of War Ragnarok is definitely at the tippy top for me.
Awesome. All right. And Rob, how about you? What game were you most hyped for?
Oh, much like Maverick, I've been thinking about this one quite a bit, and I really couldn't think of anything until just now. Really, the last game that I remember really being excited for, I remember this was nearing the end of the PS1 era. The PS2 had just started coming out, and I used to every month I would get this official PlayStation magazine, had a demo disc in the back of it, which I absolutely loved because had the demos of certain games I wanted to play. So I was looking through the pages of this magazine one day, and I saw them highlight this one game that was going to infuse the worlds of Final Fantasy and Disney. I'm like, oh my god, this sounds like this could be the greatest game ever made. So when I got my PS2, saved up for quite a while to get my PlayStation 2. The first game I bought with it was actually Devil May Cry. But the second game that I bought with it was the game that I was the most hyped for because I saw the cover art. It looked gorgeous. I bought Kingdom Hearts the very next day after I bought my PS2. I played it and I loved it. Loved everything about it. The characters. I thought that all the Final Fantasy characters that they put in the game were faithful to the characters that they were in the game. A little few changes, like changing Squall's name to Leon, but I think they covered why they did that because he was in hiding or something like that.
That's it. Boycott. Never playing it.
Yeah, exactly.
That's it. Kingdom Hearts is canceled.
Yeah.
But I absolutely loved it. Loved part two. I didn't play any of the other games, like the ones with weird titles to them. But I really loved the first Kingdom Hearts game. It was so much fun. Great story behind it. Great characters. It was the last game before Rebirth or even remake that I can think of that I was really hyped for, and I'm extremely like hyped for Rebirth coming out.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Kingdom Hearts was a great game too. I've been
Oh yeah.
working on trying to platinum that one myself, but
I've
uh,
never played it.
Oh,
I've played
it's a
okay.
really
I've
good game.
played
it's
an hour of the first. I know it's on PlayStation Plus. I will definitely be trying it again here, hopefully soon. But as we
all I can
know, my
say.
backlog is
Yeah.
continuing to
If you
grow.
play the 1.5 remix, all I can say is be very patient with the controls. It can get really janky at times. I'm still having difficulty with it, but yeah, no, it's still a fantastic game. It plays very nicely on the PS5.
Well, as I've said, like, and we've brought it up that I've got a Facebook page dedicated to views, and gaming news and movie news and reviews as well. Um, so my focus, I would love to be able to get into it the next little while, but I'm trying to get the reviews out for Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. Stellar Blade's going to be around the corner here in April, and of course before that, Rise of the Ronin. So I really want to get those reviews up. So I'm going to be really focusing on getting that done before I get into anything else. So be patient with me, everyone. I promise I will be getting into some of these games, and I know that there's been a running joke of doing a segment of Mavericks Mayhem with my backlog, but I am starting to pick through it a little bit.
Yeah. All right, so I guess it's my turn now. I'm gonna go. It's probably around the same time as around when Kingdom Hearts was around. Actually, no, probably a little bit later, at least for this one, because it's the second one of this particular series. I played the original. The original was a whole lot of fun. The characters were great. The gameplay was great. Um, and then they had that little twist at the very end of the first game, and then you never knew what was going to happen with it. And then they started, the rumors started circulating about the second game coming out. After finding out that the one of the main characters at the end of the first one was coming back, but on the evil side of things. Um, the game I'm talking about is StarCraft 2. So if you all
Oh
remember,
man, yes,
yes. So you all
yeah,
remember how the whole deal with Raynor and now I can't even think of her name. Kerrigan.
Kerrigan, yeah.
Yeah. So you know how Kerrigan dies at the end of at the end of the first StarCraft, and then yeah, they started teasing this whole new game coming out from Blizzard, and yeah, they finally revealed that it was StarCraft 2, and then all of a sudden they reveal the Queen of Blades, and it's Kerrigan. I'm like, wait, what? Like, how is that even possible? And yeah, no, that was a great game. That was probably one of the biggest games where I learned very quickly and very harshly the term APM. And if for those of you out there, if you know, you know.
Just tied to StarCraft, there's one thing that's always disappointed me is that there was supposed to be a game focused around her called Ghosts. I
I
believe
think
at
so,
one point
yeah.
that ended up getting canceled. And that game was in development hell for years. Man, was I excited for that one.
Much like
And it's
many
such
others,
a
yeah.
shame. Yeah, it's such a shame that one never happened.
But yeah, anyway, so yeah, StarCraft 2, that was my most hyped game from many years ago. I still revisit it every once in a while too. So, but moving on, we are going to check out some new gaming news. Unfortunately, it's not really good gaming news for this first little bit. For those of you who have been paying attention to the news, the first little bit here, Sony Studios worldwide have laid off approximately 900 employees, so about 8% of their global workforce. These layoffs include studios from Insomniac, Naughty Dog Studios, Firesprite, and Guerrilla Games as well. These layoffs come after Sony stock has plummeted by approximately $10 billion in their overall stocks. Low PS5 sales and low games margins are contributing to this particular downturn. So the other part of this, there's also been some layoffs announced at EA Studios, about approximately 5% of their global workforce, or approximately 670 positions have been or will be terminated very, very soon here. So, quick thoughts from you guys on yet even more layoffs in the industry.
The one thing that I wanted to add, if you don't mind me saying too, in regards to the news, one of the things that's being impacted is one of the games that is being canceled because of this decision was actually being done by Firesprite, which is the Twisted Metal game. Now, the thing is, a lot of us were like, I know a lot of people that were really excited for it, but at the same time, I'm okay with it because it was going to be done as a live service. So, I mean, this is just another nail in the coffin for live service games. And I think Sony had something like 13 live service games in development. We also know that there have been games that have been impacted that have been canceled. Truthfully, I'm kind of hoping that it was the live service games. I am a little concerned on the developers that have been impacted. You know, Insomniac was involved with Ratchet and Clank and Spider-Man. They've got Wolverine on the go. I'm really anticipating there being delays announced with some of these games as well. Not that any of them were really going to be coming out anyways. We did kind of cover that Sony was, saying that there's not going to be any real first-party sequels coming out at all this year. That they're not going to be doing any first-party games that are big like that at this point. I think this is kind of just an adjustment with the cost that is associated with games at this point. Spider-Man 2, for an example, with Insomniac, I think had like $100 million budget. They needed to sell 100 million copies as well, or something like that, to even break even. They, of course, broke that, and they ended up doing well enough to cover the loss. But I mean, you got increased budget, and consoles they've always sold at a loss.
Yeah.
Always have sold at a loss. There's That's not where they make their money. Um, so it's a shame that this is happening. I feel bad for the developers, but unfortunately, we're in a situation where this is kind of the norm. Um, I'm EA. I'm a little surprised about. We really don't know the outcome of what's going to be impacted as of yet either for EA, just for the simple fact that they just really announced it a few hours ago. And nothing concrete is going to be really focused. From what I've heard, their focus is going to be trying to get their new RPG up and going. What was it called again? Dragon Age. That they're moving their focus onto that. So you might see it being expedited there a little bit for the sales, but I think that there's going to be a little bit more of a crunch to get those numbers up. But unfortunately, I think it's an adjustment after the pandemic and just the market settling down and the increased budget when it comes to some of these games. Unfortunately, I think what we're going to end up seeing is a push for more live service games. Unfortunately, because that's where a lot of these companies feel that they're making their money rather than focusing on single player experiences. And you're going to see them push more for mobile gaming. And for me, I'm not a huge fan of it, but it pays the bills. And I think you're going to see a lot more cross-platform games that will kind of almost put an end to the console wars. And at least with Sony more focus on PC games, which could be a good thing, especially with the success of games like Helldivers 2.
Rob, do you have any thoughts on that?
I'll just echo something Maverick said, and that's a shame that all those people are losing their job. My heart goes out to them, and hopefully it doesn't destroy their passion for making video games, because maybe you can land somewhere or start your own studios, start pumping out some really good independent titles. So, again, heart goes out to everyone who was affected by the layoffs, and hope you land back on your feet.
Yeah, I think I agree with that too. Because I mean, you look at the studios that they're cutting the jobs from, and those, like, they've cranked out some really, really good games in the past.
Mhm.
So, hope I don't doubt that they'll be able to land on their feet. I just hope they can do so quickly, and hopefully they'll be able to continue to churn out pretty good games. I do know of one game on the EA side that was declared as canceled, and that was supposed to be a Respawn game. There was supposed to be a first-person shooter Respawn game that was based on the Mandalorian story. That one
Oh man,
apparently has been,
really?
yeah, so that one's been canceled.
Oh,
There hasn't been anything announced for Outlaws, although I wouldn't be the least bit surprised if we see a delay from that one till at least, I'd say, at least mid 2025
Well, that
for a
one
release
is
date.
Ubisoft, but Ubisoft I think is in a lot of hot water after the way that Skull and Bones is going.
Yeah,
Um, like the player count. I looked at the player count this morning. I think I shared it with. Well, that was Suicide Squad. I shared with you guys, which
yeah.
also isn't doing great. Um, but Skull and Bones. I think at one point in time I heard on Steam alone they had something like 500 players,
Oof,
500 to
yeah.
1,000
wow.
players. The amount of people that are playing Assassin's Creed Black Flag instead went up 200%. And that's because you can actually get off the ship in Black Flag and get into fights and not be stuck on the ship and basically just be a ship.
Yeah.
Like
I
that's the
imagine
thing.
it's
Like
I imagine it's probably the same with Sea of Thieves as well. They're probably seeing maybe a bit more of an influx with those that tried, and or it might be one of those things too where it's like a bunch of Sea of Thieves players that jumped over to Skull and Bones because they wanted to try something different, saw the pile that one was, and then just went right back. So could be.
well, and the thing is like this was supposed to be a big year for Ubisoft. And that's the thing. Like last year they basically came up and said we're our like the shareholders said we don't care if you make money, but you better damn well make money next year. So
Division 3,
they
give us Division 3.
yeah, absolutely, and it's supposed to be it's that one's supposed to be in the works as well. But no, I agree with you. I think you're going to see Outlaws delayed, and I think you're going to see more games like Black Flag is going to be getting a reboot or remake, and I think that they're going to be starting to look at remaking some of these Assassin's Creed games. And the thing is, unfortunately, that's their bread and butter. And like for me personally, I love Assassin's Creed, but they're not. Ubisoft is going to start doing something, think outside the box. And I hope that things go well with Outlaws. I will be there day one to buy it,
Yeah.
but I'm worried about the way that Ubisoft is going. I would be shocked if there is not any announcements in the next few months that they have additional layoffs with Ubisoft.
Yeah, they can only go to the well so many times.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
All right. So, with that being said, some actual positive news on the gaming side of things. Nacon's Connect event, which is occurring on February 29th, so that's technically tomorrow as of the day of this recording. But February 29th, the Nacon Connect event is occurring, and they are going to be revealing some new games. One of which is getting a little bit of traction for. Apparently, there's going to be a new open world Terminator survival game that is going to be revealed. So I, for one, am excited about this. I love the Terminator movies. The only Terminator game I ever remember playing was the arcade one where you had that little gun kind of on the stick
Yep.
there. That was a great game, but I'm excited to see that one. There's also going to be some potential reveals for Greedfall 2, so a new title in that particular series. A new RPG, I believe it's an RPG called Raven's Watch, and a new Test Drive Unlimited game, which is supposedly going to be announced at this event as well. So, what do you guys think there? Anything you're excited to see? Let me guess, Terminator and Terminator?
Terminator for sure.
Terminator.
Yeah. The thing is, they did such a bang up job with RoboCop that I'm very excited to see what direction they go. I mean, the new RoboCop game, I will say was underappreciated with how well it actually did, and for them to have their hands on this Terminator game as well, absolutely bring it on. I'm super excited for that one as well.
Rob, any thoughts?
I can't wait to squad up with the gang and go crush Skynet. Or squad up with the gang and go crush humanity. Hey, either or.
Yeah, could be either one. Could be either one.
You want to
That
be
would
on
be
the
interesting to
winning
see.
side.
I mean, that would definitely make PvP kind of interesting.
It
But
would.
Yeah.
at the same time, it would make it would totally make sense and whatnot. Kill all humans, kill all machines, and all that fun stuff. But yeah, no, I'm excited to see what they dig out on that. Now, unfortunately, I won't be able to watch it because I will be a little bit preoccupied with some Final Fantasy VII Rebirth myself. But yeah, I imagine probably tomorrow evening I'll probably look back on the articles and see what's coming up there. Greedfall would be an interesting one. The first game was pretty successful, a little bit on the underrated side as well, but fairly successful in that one. Raven's Watch, I believe, is a new IP coming from them. And Test Drive Unlimited, I've been hearing through the rumor mill that one's pretty hyped up as well. There's a lot of people that were really into the various Test Drive games, so we'll kind of see what comes up from that. Any other thoughts before we move on to the next section?
Let's rock and roll.
All right,
Yeah.
so, and with that, everybody, it's time to get into level 1. So, with it being February 28th today, at the time of this particular recording, we are approaching March Madness. I know there's a lot of NCAA fans that are out there in the world, so it's going to be no different here. So, each of our casters have all selected a handful of what they think are the best games in their opinions. So what they've done is we've split them up into kind of 4 divisional brackets. We're going to start pitting games each other 1v1 to see who will come out on top in the inaugural Level 1 Lounge Grand Championship. So here's how the format is going to go. So the games that the casters have picked, we've kind of randomized them as best as we can. Each particular game is going to go head to head with one another. And the casters are going to give their opinions on why that particular game should advance. In case the casters can't agree, there will be a tiebreaker vote with the other casters. And since there are a lot of games to go through, we'll do our best to try and keep things short and sweet for these first few brackets and not take too much time. So, with that, let's go ahead and move to the bracket. So,
I'd like to also quickly add,
sure.
as you see, Monster is not here with us. He's preoccupied in Cuba, so enjoying
Jerk.
the enjoying the sun. We would like to make sure that he has the opportunity to have a discussion with some of these games as he is not with us today. So we have agreed to give him uh, 3 opportunities to actually make an argument for some of the games that we make the decision on. So if he feels that we've made a mistake with some of the games that he's picked, or any of the other games, we're going to give him an opportunity with 3 different divisions to make an argument to move forward. So just so that we're aware and make the rules clear here, just because his voice is not heard this time around. So, anyways, yeah, let's get started though.
All
The
right.
rider.
So, starting off with our very first matchup of the evening, we have Parasite Eve, original PlayStation game, versus Baldur's Gate 3. Now I don't know. I don't know if this one might be a. I think Parasite Eve might be punching above their weight class on this one.
Maybe.
Yeah.
So Baldur's Gate. Baldur's Great. Yeah, it is. It really is.
Yeah, it really is.
Baldur's Gate 3.
Oh, I can see.
Baldur's Gate 3 was actually my pick. Parasite Eve. I'm gonna hazard a guess and say I think it was Rob's pick.
You do
just a
correct.
guess. Yeah. I'll let you go. I'll let you make your arguments first.
Okay, my arguments for Parasite Eve. Okay, well, for me, it's all about the gameplay, how well that works. The story is also just fantastic. You have a great central protagonist in Aya, great supporting cast as well. The graphics are what you expect for a PS1 era game, but a little better than most. I loved the main villain of the game as well, Eve. She was just really creepy in her moments, and yeah, I just thought overall it's a game that worked from beginning to end and was just a joy to play. And like I said in the remake episode, I it's one I never finished, but I still had a great time playing it as much as I did. And yeah, that's my argument for it.
All right. All right, counter argument. Baldur's Gate 3. What can we say about this one here? Jeez Louise. Yeah, again, pretty much to exactly what Rob was just saying for Baldur's Gate 3. Fantastic game. Great supporting cast of characters. Astarion has sex with a bear. Case closed.
I also would like to add. I would like to add something like, I've never played Parasite Eve. I know that there's an outcry for a lot of like it to be remade.
Oh, it
So
really
for
needs to
that,
be, yeah.
and but here's the thing: as good as that game is, I will sit here and argue Baldur's Gate has revolutionized games the way they are today, or at least it's going to. The the way that the character builds were done, the the decisions you were able to make. There are people that went into that game with the intention of breaking it because that's what you do in D&D. You try to break things. You try to throw off the DM. Difference is they accounted for everything that you decide to do in that game. And I think that's the part for me that really sells it. And a thing is with Parasite Eve, it's held back by the generation. So I gotta go Boulder's Gate. I have to. Sorry, Rob. I just that's the one I'm going with.
Yeah, I gotta go with Baldur's Gate on that one too.
Like Ryder said, yeah, Parasite Eve was punching above its weight class.
Yeah.
So.
This next one, though, I can't wait to hear the arguments on this one. So, two classics, both are pretty much award winning in their own times. But we have Chrono Trigger versus Chrono Cross. Now, now neither of these games were on my list, so I know one's on yours, Rob.
Yep, Chrono Cross.
Who I'm assuming was it
Monster
that had Chrono Trigger? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, let's hear from Rob about Chrono Cross. Why it should have answered Chrono Trigger.
That mid-game twist in Chrono Cross was just executed so well. A great cast of characters. This is one of the big things that I will say with most of these games. An excellent cast of characters. Just I think this was one of the first games that I knew of that had like multiple endings as well. The gameplay was just wonderfully done. The effects, the graphics were so good. Like they were better than Final Fantasy VII. You know, Final Fantasy VII is my gold standard, but it was just so much fun to play. Not too frustrating. You got to remember, it's a long time ago that I played this, so I haven't played it since. But what I still remember of it is just a joy to play. Great story, like I said, with that mid-game twist that happened with Surge and Link switching bodies. It was just so well done, and that's my.
I'll make one additional argument for Chrono Cross on this one.
That's what I'm looking for.
The music.
Yes, the music.
That's one of the big things that did it for me with Chrono Cross. Would be the music.
Yep.
Mav, do you have any thoughts on that one? You probably never played either one of them.
I've never played this one, and the thing is, the majority of my games are newer releases because I've kind of gotten back into gaming as a PlayStation 3. The thing is, when I hear about these games, I hear they're both really good.
They are.
And I mean, if you guys are both going to go with Chrono Cross, I think that's the one that we'll move forward with.
Yeah, I will say this quickly for Chrono Trigger.
And then I got a feeling that we're going to end up getting
we're gonna get an appeal on this
Monster.
one for sure.
Yeah, we'll get an appeal with Monster.
But I mean, I will say this for Chrono Trigger. The combat was fantastic. The story was really good. Yep. I think in this particular case, like I said, I think I would lean towards Chrono Cross because it's basically everything that Chrono Trigger did, but newer.
Yeah, and I love the time travel aspect with Chrono Trigger as well.
Yeah.
So either way, if Chrono Cross is my number 10, well, technically not my number 10, it'd be my number 11, but my number 10 was already taken. Chrono Trigger would be my number 12. So.
Yeah. So if I have to cast a tiebreaker here, my initial selection will be Chrono Cross.
I will I'll go with what you guys are saying, but I got a feeling we're going to get an appeal for that one.
I think,
But
and
that
it
is what
deserves
it
one.
is. Yeah.
Chrono Trigger
I think so
definitely
too.
deserves an appeal.
Okay. So that's the next bracket done there. All right, next one here. I'm going to assume this is Horizon Zero Dawn, or
Yes.
yeah, Horizon Zero Dawn versus Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past. Now we're going way back in the Wayback Machine here. Horizon Zero Dawn, very a much more recent game. I definitely know that one's Mavs. Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past. That's got to be Monsters.
It is.
It is. Okay. All right. So your opening arguments here, Mav.
Okay. Robot dinosaurs. Come on. That's what I'm going to open with. Look, honestly, I know that this has a snowball's chance in hell in winning against Zelda. But okay, you know what? I'm taking Monster's approach. This game's been out for a while. I'm going to talk spoilers. The direction that this game went and how it focused on the fall of humanity and how it was about rebuilding society and how going back to a tribal roots is so interesting to me, and having it basically be about an AI that has gone rogue, that wants to wipe out society or any form of life, is so interesting, because that was the whole point of the game, was that humanity fell, and that we had an AI named Gaia that took our DNA and started cloning us to make sure that we survived, because there was nothing left. A rogue AI went through and ate everything. It ate biomass. If you weren't aware, biomass is everything. Every living thing, every living organism, gone. Earth was a barren wasteland. So they had to wait until it was able to, the Gaia was able to recreate everything, and we went back to our tribal roots. This game, especially now with the way that things are running with AI and the fears that we have, this is something that, it could resonate with the way that society is at this point, and how we are starting to rely on AI technology. That's my argument for this, and it was ahead of its time before we were even having this discussion about, what direction AI is going to go. And that's the thing that I really enjoy. And to have the conversation about this AI controlling robot dinosaurs and being able, having this fully fleshed out open world experience, and the direction that it went, the tactics that you were able to make, that you had, not one fight was the same. You can come up with a different way of taking things down. And I still remember the first time taking down a Thunderjaw and how excited I was to be able to take one down. And for those who've never played it, Thunderjaw is a massive T-Rex, robot T-Rex, and a Stormbird. Taking those down was so much fun. And there's a million and one different ways of taking these creatures down. So that's why I love Horizon, and that's why I put it on this list.
It's a very compelling argument. Rob, any thoughts on Horizon or Legend of Zelda?
Okay. I will be completely and 100% honest with you both.
You've never played either one of them.
I have never played either one of them. You can understand why I haven't played Horizon Zero Dawn yet, but there should be no reason why I haven't played Link to the Past, but I haven't.
Yeah. So yeah, and now, like I said, and yeah, now I can weigh in on this one here, because I have played both. Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past, such a fantastic game. Oh my god. I mean, yeah, Horizon Zero Dawn is basically, like, we're talking new age versus old age. Like, we're talking very different. Not even just like graphics and music and game style. Like, we're talking two completely very different games altogether. I did play a little bit of Horizon Zero Dawn. I didn't get very far with it. Now, the one thing that kind of makes me lean towards Zelda a little bit is that I lost interest in Horizon Zero Dawn. I found it to get really repetitive at points. In terms of basically just going around, adventuring, completing quests. It's basically pick up a quest, go kill these creatures. Pick up another quest, go kill these creatures. So it started to get a little repetitive in my mind versus Legend of Zelda, with the Link to the Past. It was always really interesting. It was one of the first few games on Nintendo that changed your perspective mid-game, where you'd have like the classic top-down, the isometric style of the Legend of Zelda that everyone kind of remembers from the original, and then all of a sudden you enter a whole other area, and now all of a sudden it's a side-scroller. But I mean, in terms of what the games have offered, I gotta lean towards Zelda on this one.
I knew I was going to lose that one. To be honest, that's
a close call. That's a very close call, though.
I will say though, with Horizon, it sounds like you started very early with the typical fetch quests, is what it sounds like to me. But I mean, I do understand what you're getting at though, for sure. And I mean, we are talking Legend of Zelda. Every time that game comes out, it ends up being game of the year.
All right, so for the next
I will happily concede.
Okay, fair enough. All right, for the next one, this is good. This will be a fun debate here too. So for the next one, I think Rob, you and I are going head to head again on this one. So the next one we've got Bendy and the Ink Machine going up against Pokemon Black White.
Ooh.
So yeah, no, I guess this one's going to be an interesting one. Rob, I let you go first last time. I'll take the lead on this one here for Pokemon Black White. This one, I think, really kind of set the bar for Pokemon games. They took a lot of their mechanics from the previous games and basically just took them up to the next level, whether that be through evolution, through adventuring, through Pokemon breeding was another way that you can actually, generate really good Pokemon. The online competitive scene for Pokemon Black White really stepped up another level. You could see a lot of classic like tournaments and things like that that started happening on various platforms, YouTube, Twitch, or back in the day it was Justin TV. There was and the music was fantastic in this one too. Again, great supporting cast of characters, not just your Pokemon, but all the various like trainers and NPCs and whatnot that you interact with. And then getting down to the end game, you hear the music getting into the Elite Four, and you're in for a fight. And then, maybe you might be playing on Game Boy, or you might be playing on, maybe an emulator, like some of us cool kids do. But you get into those fights, you get to the end, and your palms are sweating, your knees weak, arms are heavy. Yeah, I know it. Anyways, I digress. But that is my particular argument for Pokemon Black White.
Okay, my argument for Bendy and the Ink Machine, it is a game of atmosphere. It builds this incredible story about going back to this old animation studio in the 1940s, 1930s, 1940s, around about there, and just seeing what the hell happened during that time to make everything just so dilapidated. You have a great cast of characters with the demon Bendy, with Boris the Wolf, Alice Angel. The protagonist you play as, I can't remember his name off the top of my head right, but there are some great puzzle solving aspects to this game as well. Plus, you throw in like action where you can, it's I don't want to say run and gun, but you have different weapons you could use, like a lead pipe you can swing or a gun you can use. There's just so much going on with this game. There's even maybe a little bit of a stealth aspect to it in certain points. But it just made for one incredible experience that I would definitely play again and again and again. It's just, to me, it was that good.
All right.
So
Matt,
I guess
thoughts?
I'm going to be the tiebreaker on this one then. I'm going to say this. Rob, it sounds like a really fantastic game.
I think it is.
And it's definitely something that I would like to check into. But I'm more familiar with Pokemon Black and White.
I figured
And
this would be
that's the
another one of
direction I'm going to
punching out
go.
already.
And that's the thing, and it's hard to compete with Pokemon when it's
Yeah,
such a beloved franchise that I I gotta put my vote towards Pokemon Black and White,
that's
and
fair.
that's where my thought pattern is. But I do really like I really appreciate your mentality and thought pattern with that, and your love for that game for sure.
And the next one, what's the second one called in that series? Bendy?
Bendy in the Dark Revival.
Right, yeah. Starting to see some hype generated across socials on that one too.
Well, it's been out for a couple months now.
It's already out. Okay, I thought
Oh
it
yeah,
hadn't
it's
been
already
released
out.
yet. Ah, fair enough.
Nope. So,
That would be okay. All right. Okay, this next one.
I
This...
can't believe I put these ones together.
Yeah, sometimes that's just the way it goes. So,
Yeah.
for the next bracket, we have got Doki Doki Literature Club. So we got Rob, and I'm gonna wager a guess this one might be Monsters.
Yeah.
Earthbound.
okay, this is another one of punching out of their weight class because I got a feeling Earthbound would probably take this one, but I will make my case. Basically, you just have to watch the indie episode we did last week. Great characters, a great story, a great fake out, if you want to call it that, with everything that happens leading up to the end of Act One. When that switch hits, it's like you're in a totally different game at that point. The Yes, it's a psychological horror game that doesn't rely on jump scares like say a Five Nights at Freddy's, but it's more cerebral. It'll get into your brain. Like I saw that with when Chewie was playing the game. It got into his brain, which I kind of sit there and have to go.
He actually gave you props for that too,
He
by the
did.
way. Just a side
He did.
note. He was like, Rob was dead on with this one. He was dead on. I think he was a little mad at you.
I think it was. He really was. But yeah, it's a game that I will always go to bat for, no matter what. It could be taking on the video game that everyone says is the greatest game of all time, and I'll go to bat for it because it was just that good.
No, that's good to hear. All right, Mav, you and I have never really played Doki Doki Literature Club. I don't know about you.
I watched Chewie.
I did watch. I did watch a bit of that too.
I think
I've
you get
never.
before the twist happened.
Yeah, I did. I've never really played Earthbound either, as shamed as I am to say it, because Earthbound is a cult classic. This is one of the most sought after games on the SNES, to the point where you can look around and you can see at like even like gaming conventions or various used game stores, Earthbound with the SNES box are selling for hundreds of dollars, like
Mhm.
$500, $600, $700, $800 for a single copy of Earthbound with the box for SNES. It's wild how beloved that particular game is. But like I said, I've never really played it. I have seen content creators in the past do streams of it. I have seen speed runs of it. It is an incredibly well put together game for its time. I don't really know what else to say about it. Like I said, because I've never really had my hands on it, so I can't really delve so much into the details. But Mav, do you have any thoughts on that?
I watched Chewie play Doki Doki, and we discussed it a little bit as well. And he said it well. You're not alone when it comes to these situations. There's so much behind it when it comes to depression, and being somebody that is impacted by it. I appreciate the sentiment and the focus on it, and I absolutely loved watching him play it. I never got to see the ending, so I'm actually contemplating of picking it up as well. But Ryder made such a big point of it being Earthbound have such a big following. I've never played it. I'm not overly familiar with it, But it's hard to argue with it when you've got people that are doing speed runs and it's beloved so much, and to have those many copies out there that are going for that amount. I it's rare for games to be sold for that amount. I'm gonna have to go with Earthbound under the circumstances.
Yeah, I'd have to go
I
with
would
Earthbound as well.
love to say Doki Doki, and I again, it's another great game, but yeah, I was rooting for it to be honest in this bracket. But yeah, well, I think we
Yeah.
got to say Earthbound.
That's fair.
Okay. And into the next bracket here. We're doing pretty good for time here. So next one is one of my picks. The original Doom for DOS. This one has been remade quite a few times on various platforms. It's been on SNES. It's been on N64. You get various remakes of it on Steam and a few other places. Versus the original Portal. This is going to be a good one, I think. And again, I'm assuming this is probably one of Monster's choices.
Another Monster's pick. Yeah.
Yeah. I will make my arguments for Doom in that this game, basically next to Wolfenstein 3D, revolutionized the first-person shooter. Without Doom being as successful as it was, Portal wouldn't exist. So yeah, that's my main argument for it. Like the amount of sequels that have come out from this game, the music tracks, even as cheesy and as 16-bit as they are still memorable to this day. Like to the point where even the newer Doom games are revisiting the original Doom. So I mean, there's not very many games that are out there that can say like this game is literally taking pieces from the original and bringing them back to life, type of thing. So that's my argument for Doom.
I would have to agree.
Yeah.
I would absolutely agree with that.
You guys have any thoughts on Portal?
Never played it, seen it, looks interesting, but I got to give my vote to Doom. I've played it, great game, great music. Yeah, I got to go with you and pick Doom on this one.
If Doom wasn't so revolutionized, it didn't revolutionize gaming and first-person shooters, I would definitely be making an argument for Portal. The problem is, like, Doom was so big, it was so successful. Portal, as great as it is, I've never played it. I've seen enough gameplay to realize it's got really likable characters when it comes to the robots that are there. It's also got fantastic puzzles, which is half of the fun with that game. But it's hard to argue with a game that revolutionized games, like gaming today.
I will say this for Portal, Still Alive is a banger of a song. So.
And shout outs to GLaDOS, you my girl.
Yep, exactly.
All right, so we're gonna go with Doom.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Ooh. Okay, I didn't see the bracket this far down. Okay, I'm excited to see the arguments on this one because I loved both of these games. So the first one that we have, now I'm going to call it by the name that it was back in the day. So we're talking about WWF SmackDown 2 Know Your Role and Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2. Oh, let's hear it. Let's hear it.
So I just want to add, Tony Hawk is Monster's pick again.
Okay.
And him and I have had numerous conversations about this. That he's broken his controllers over how doing the tricks for this game. He's talked about it so much that I want to pick this game up. And I'm not huge into skateboarding games or like the only sports games that I'll play is Madden and golf, and I won't pay for those games anymore. But the way he's talked about it makes me want to pick that one up. So that's my take so far. But I know Rob is dying to talk about WWF as well.
Know Your Role. It was the second game in the SmackDown series, was a big improvement over the first one. Had a bigger, better roster, had more match types. It had one of my favorite things. It's one of the smallest things ever, but when you're a champion in this game, you actually come out with your title. All the like SmackDown, the first game in the series, it just said WWF World Champion, and you didn't come out with your title. At least in this one, you came out with a title over your head, over your shoulder. I mean, it had a great character creation studio in it. I made creations of myself. I made a creation of my brother. I made a freaking creator wrestler version of Sephiroth. That's how big the creator studio was. Just a great game, and it is by far and away probably my favorite wrestling game of all time. It's the second favorite game on my top 10 favorite games of all time list, and just I don't think any other wrestling game can beat it. Yes, there can be a case made for the N64 game, WWF No Mercy, but for me, SmackDown 2 Know Your Role was the best wrestling game of that era.
Yeah, I think I have to agree with Rob on that one too. That was a fantastic game. I remember coming over to your place, and I remember doing the whole create a wrestler thing, and creating a wrestler that of something that I envisioned, which we ended up doing like some kind of like text based. It was like a play by post type of wrestling league that we had, and I used the exact same character that I made there. Lots of memories from SmackDown 2 Know Your Role. Also, lots of memories with Pro Skater 2. Just all the various tricks and whatnot. As hard as they were to pull off, it felt so good when you actually pulled off some of these amazing tricks and kick flips and all the various stuff that you could do with Pro Skater 2. But between both games, if I had to choose a vote, I'd say I had way more enjoyment out of SmackDown than I did Tony Hawk.
I think Monster might be okay with it losing to a
so.
wrestling game. But
Yeah, I suppose. I mean, it's not like he hosts like a podcast called In My House or anything like that.
yeah,
Right?
Yeah. Link in the description below, by the way. All right, so we're gonna go with SmackDown as the
we'll
choice.
go with SmackDown.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll
If
go.
Monster wants to appeal it, we'll hear him out on that one.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, and then excuse me, and then for the last game set, or the last head-to-head match of this first side of the bracket. Mav, you and I'm gonna have trouble on this one. I'm gonna guarantee you that. We have God of War Ragnarok, which we were just talking about a little while ago, and the original Neverwinter Nights. This one's gonna be pretty short and sweet. I'll go first. Neverwinter Nights was one of the first PC D&D games that had a fully fleshed out story. If you've obviously played Baldur's Gate 3. Neverwinter Nights was exactly like that, but in an earlier game, playing with a different rule set. You had your fully fleshed character creation. You had a great supporting cast of characters, a fantastic story. Neverwinter Nights actually, I believe, came with 3 different campaigns, which was huge for for a D&D type RPG of that time. The graphics were good. The gameplay was great. The replayability was amazing because much like Baldur's Gate 3, your choices had consequences in that game too. They never really expanded much beyond that one. Neverwinter Nights 2, unfortunately, was a big flop. They did release kind of like an MMO RPG style, which they called just Neverwinter, which was okay in its own right, but doesn't really match up to the original Neverwinter Nights. So, your turn.
Okay. God of War Ragnarok. I
win.
really
Okay.
want to talk about this one, but here's the thing. Ryder, you streamed 2018. I know that this one is going to be high up on one of the next ones that you want to play and look at platinum.
It definitely moved up the chain, that's for sure.
So I will do everything I can to avoid spoilers. You know that Atreus is Loki.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, is like it was a more of a journey with Loki and trying to figure out who he is. it flushed out the world so much more. Not only did you have Midgard to explore, you had access to basically all the realms with the exception of Valhalla. I'll get to Valhalla in just a minute. And the thing is, the storytelling and the direction that they went and how they explained the the character with the development with Freya. There's big events that happen with Freya in this one as well. I don't want to get into it and wreck anything. Was phenomenal. There is one thing that I will talk about briefly. Um, and okay, so I am going to go on a little bit into spoiler territory. It's a minor one for the story. Sorry, Ryder, for wrecking this part. Part
Disqualified.
of
No,
the
I'm kidding.
part of the reason why, I'm actually looking at getting another pup, and I would like to get a male one, and I want to name him Fenrir. And it's not just because the Norse mythology; it's because of a character that they had in this game. So they had Fenrir in the game, and the opening scene was a huge fight with Freya. It got you engaged right away. Ryder, you're going to know exactly why she's fighting now, and it was a massive, massive fight. And just the opening scene alone, like grabbing you like that and holding on. Then all of a sudden, you get back home, and there's Finn, and he's has old age. He's refusing to eat. He's dying, and it goes from you're fighting Freya and you're fighting for your life to now you're saying goodbye to this beloved wolf that he has, that Atreus has. It was jarring how quickly that happened and how impacted I was. I was tearing up when I seen him pass away. What happens though, and this is the part I'm going to wreck, and this is the thing that really impacted me with making the decision to want a dog and name him Fen, is that's not the end of Fenrir's story. But you don't know it through 3/4 of the game. What you don't realize is Atreus puts Fenrir's soul into this knife. And later on, they come across Garm, who's the soulless wolf in Helheim. And Atreus decides it's a great idea to put Fenrir's soul into this giant wolf. And that's how Fenrir, as this massive wolf, was born. And it was so moving to see the reaction of Fenrir coming back. And that's just one story. That's one story. They highlight so much more. They highlight a story with his wife and like her past a little bit more, her interactions with the giants, her interactions with the Norse gods. And that's again one story. There's so many different unfolding stories through this game. The combat was improved on. They brought in, there was one Valkyrie, by the way, Rider, one. I was a Valkyrie queen, but there are 12 berserkers, and I would argue that they were harder than the Valkyries.
Oh, lovely.
And not only that, there are times you're not fighting one, but three at a time.
Oh, Jesus. Yikes.
And I loved that combat. I loved the rewards for it. I loved going out and searching for different things. That's why it's on my list. And that is why I absolutely love this game and why it's near the top of my favorite games of all time.
Yeah, I can definitely understand why. And in this particular case, as much as I love Neverwinter Nights, I'm pretty confident I'm going to concede this one to God of War Ragnarok. Like I said, as good as Neverwinter Nights was, this one again is definitely punching well above its weight class here.
Yeah, I was going to give it to Ragnarok myself.
Yeah. All right. So with that, we're coming close to the end of the podcast here, and then that should cover the first part of the bracket. So next week we'll be going over the next sections of the bracket. We got some really, really good matchups here that are going to take place. We've only basically kind of touched the tip of the iceberg on the list of our favorite games. Not only for myself and Irish Bandit Rob and Maverick, but also Monster Hospital as well. So next week we're gonna come back with part 2 of our March Madness, because I mean it's March Madness. It's got to go all month long here. So with that being said, I think it is time to set the controllers down. It is time to power down. Folks, don't forget as well, make sure you do drop a like on the video. Make sure you subscribe to the channel as well with your notifications bell on. That way you guys don't miss another podcast when it goes live. And feel free to leave us a comment down below. We'd love to hear from from our subscribers in our community. What games do you think what games do you want to see on this, or what games do you think should have been on this particular list? I would love to hear your guys' thoughts on it. But also don't forget, be sure to check out Agent Maverick and myself, Agent_Maverick 86 over on Twitch. Like you mentioned before, he will be streaming Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. I guess it would technically be tomorrow morning. By the time this video gets released, it might be past that. But do make sure you go follow him over on Twitch if you guys want to see his Final Fantasy VII Rebirth gameplay. And don't forget as well to follow myself over on Twitch. I will also be streaming the Final Fantasy VII Rebirth gameplay. We're both going to be doing our streaming playthroughs of that right from the release date, which again, like as of the recording of this recording, will be tomorrow morning. But also don't forget to subscribe over to Irish Bandit Rob. He will also be doing some videos on his insights into Final Fantasy characters. He's already done one for Aerith. There is going to be an upcoming one for Tifa here right away. But you can also see a lot of his past playthroughs of the Final Fantasy VII Remake, plus his current playthroughs of the Final Fantasy Pixel Remastered Collection, which is a fantastic series. If you guys have never seen it before, you can basically relive all of the old classic Final Fantasy games from 1 through 6 in their absolute remastered glory. They're fantastic. They look great. They sound great. So make sure that you guys subscribe to Irish Bandit Rob's YouTube channel for all of those playthroughs there. So with that being said, thank you all so much for tuning in. We really, really appreciate you here being here for 10 episodes of the Level 1 Lounge. Thank you to everybody who subscribed thus far. Make sure you tell your friends and family to drop a subscribe here as well for more amazing content. And we'll catch you guys next time.
Bye, everyone.